Hello and welcome to, I guess, the second episode of Obscure Undead Reviews for the brand new year for 2021. Yeah. This week we are going to be reviewing, full disclosure, an album from a good friend of ours. But before we get into telling you what it is, I'm Azy.
I'm Maus.
And this is Obscure Undead Album Reviews. If we had a title card, it would go here, but
Woo-hoo.
we don't. Well, we do, but we don't. But anyway, the album that we are reviewing this week is Black Swan by Push Button Press.
Push Button Press is based out of the Tampa, Florida area, which is where we're from. And we've known the band for quite a while. So we're really excited to review this new release that just came out on January 8th.
Yes, January 8th. This is the second release that they have on Cold Transmission. The album's actually been ready for a while, but they decided not to release it last year because it was a cursed year.
So I think that's a pretty cool idea. I think really was. People were so distracted by everything. I mean, up even till last week. So let's knock on wood and hope it gets better.
Yeah. So Push Button Press is fronted by our friend Jim Walker, who kindly gave us a copy of the album ahead of time so that we've had a chance to listen to it. And we've been sitting with it for quite a while at this point. A couple of months. Yeah. And sometimes I go back and I listen to it and I'm just like, this is very Push Button Press. And then sometimes I go back and I listen to it and I'm just like, Jim's really doing something different here.
But you know what? It is really Push Button Press because they have an identifiable sound that they've created by picking up little bits and pieces from all over and melding it into their own sound. So,
right. Like one thing you can hear throughout this whole album is the guitar is very inspired by Rick Agnew's work on Only Theater of Pain.
Yeah. And I felt that there were a lot of times where the vocals were very Peter Murphy, but not as warbly as Peter Murphy, like a sharp, confident, maybe when he was much younger, Peter Murphy, but with the updated sound.
Right. And talking about the vocals, if you've listened to Push Button Press's first album, Spectacle 1, you'll notice that Jim, and I even spoke with Jim about this, and I'm so glad that he broke out of this habit. He would be singing and then kind of monotonously sing and then kind of dip, and then monotonously sing and then dip a little bit. But
that's a vocal style.
It's a vocal style, but when it's a whole album, I was just like, all right, Jim, I know you can do more. And
there is so much variety on this album.
There is so much
sound,
vocal variety.
with the vocals, the guitars. I mean, it's not like, you know how you listen to somebody's album and you're like, oh, okay, it's consistent. And it's it's a great sound, but it's the same song 10 times. This is every single one uniquely Push Button Press while having all these inspirations from different decades, different styles of post-punk. And I'm living for it.
There's definitely, I think, influence of early Batcave in there. I think that Jim is rather inspired by Sex Gang Children.
And even though I do hear the older sounds as well, I also am hearing some of, how a lot of the newer music is incorporating some 90s sounds and some mid-90s grunge and some alternative indie that was from mid-2000s. I'm hearing all of that as well. Not at the same time. The different songs are checking out each different era. And I love that. I love that it spirals through that in the different tracks.
Right. So I'm not sure if you want to go through this one track by track or if you just want to kind of hit on...
I would love to pull out some of the tracks that I especially loved. I loved track 1, which was The End of Time. It's a killer starter track, and it definitely was one of the several tracks. There were several tracks that reminded me of Bauhaus. Or sorry, not Bauhaus. Actually, just Peter Murphy.
Just Peter.
it just reminded me, the vocals reminded me of Peter Murphy, but the music was not Bauhaus to me. And I saw that in their Bandcamp description, post-punk that sounds like Bauhaus. I didn't actually hear any musically Bauhaus, just the vocals reminded me of it.
Same. I didn't hear anything that I would have pegged as musically Bauhaus, but The End of Time was a really strong start to the album. But let's talk about track 2, Trace.
Sure. Trace.
Trace is a really fun song, despite being a really, it's push button press. They're all dark songs. But this is one that they have a music video for. I don't want to give away the ending of the music video because there's a twist. It's
really? Because I was going to describe the whole thing.
I guess describe it up until the end. Don't give away the twist.
Well, it's not. That's not possible.
Yeah, I know.
But, okay. It does have a very dark spirit to it. And it's the whole chorus with "No Trace Remains."
Yeah, and it's shot like a short film.
It's shot like a short film. Yes. I heard different people saying, it's like a Hitchcock movie and everything. And I'm like, no, it's just black and white. It died. I don't see anything else other than it being black and white. It's its own story. Very short and sweet. And one of the things that I loved so much was like the last minute of this song and the last minute of the video, like that together, like melded as one, and it was just like dark and intense and exactly what I needed, and that's why I love the video.
Yeah, because it gets dark and intense and exactly what you needed. Is it a very cathartic experience for you?
Watching the video the whole time, I'm waiting to see where it's going, and it distracts from listening to the music. So definitely go listen to the song first. Beautiful piece of work, and then enjoy the video.
Right. And if you've listened to Spectacle 1 and Black Swan side by side, you'll notice that all of the tracks on Black Swan have this like huger sound. It's so big
sound
because Jim now has a full band behind him.
And you can tell. And yeah. It's funny because I actually have full band in my notes. During the song Vril, which I wasn't sure.
Which is track 3.
I loved it the most, but I love it a lot. Like the more I listen to it, the more I love it. Mm-hmm. But it's this song and another one right after it called Dim. They remind me of a lot of those indie alternative post-punk elements that we heard from bands like Interpol around 2008. And they were evoking 1998, which was inspired by 1988. So it's just got it's like layer upon layer. It's like an inception of post-punk, and I live for that sound. Nostalgic, I guess. It made me feel of that like music video era of a full band producing a dark post-punk sound and modernized.
Yes. I really want to talk about track 5, Broken Faces.
Broken Faces!
So Broken Faces, I heard it for the first time, and I think it was the first time that they performed it. This was, I think, December of 2019. We were in West Palm Beach.
Oh yes, okay.
Yes, and I think we were the DJs for Push Button Press that night.
Yes.
Yeah. And I remember like listening to the Push Button Press set, and I'm just like, yay, this is great. And then this song comes on, and I just lost my shit.
I remember this song melted me. It melted me. Like it was like it's a slower ballad. Mm-hmm. You've got the guitar enveloped in like these lush synths, and I was just like, like I just wanted to fall back into it. But the chorus is very Echo and the Bunnymen to me, and I was just like, oh man, I wish this was on like some like Pretty in Pink soundtrack that never was, and it was a standout track and beautiful. But hearing it live is a lot different than listening to it on an album. I'm sure there's probably some elements that have changed.
I think that there are but I can't tell if it's because something actually has changed or if it's because hearing something pre-recorded doesn't ever live up to hearing something for the first time in the club when you're like a couple drinks in. And
then we lean on each other and we go, I love you.
I love you. I love this song.
We can't lean on each other anymore. Sorry.
No. So I like, it brings me back to that night, but it doesn't fully capture that night. But I think that's pretty common. Track 6 is Black Swan, the title track, which started off like in a really interesting way where Jim was doing some stuff with his vocals that he doesn't usually do with like vocal rhythm. And then he doesn't do it throughout the rest of the track. And I'm just like, no.
I thought that was interesting because, the vocal melody leading up to the chorus, I felt like it was just like waiting. Like it wasn't really building up to it. But then once the chorus hits, you forget about everything else. Mm-hmm. The chorus, just like most of these songs, like the chorus stands out so much.
Right. No, I think that this album just has some good hooks.
That's it. Good hooks.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Track 7 is Spectacle. It's my least favorite track.
I wouldn't say least favorite for my opinion. I felt that it was the most demure, is that a word? And relaxing. And I would have actually put this at the end of the album because that's how I would have started to disconnect and then chose to replay the album. Some of the songs that are on the end of the album, I think should have been pushed up further, but I'm probably the only reviewer who's very nitpicky about song order.
I mean, it's a very valid thing to be nitpicky about because it affects how you enjoy an album. Mm-hmm. An album is an experience. Even if the songs don't feed into each other, an album is still an experience. But yeah, no, Spectacle just, it didn't grab me. I felt like, I was coming off like the rest of the album and it just let me down and I just didn't do anything for me. But maybe you're right. Maybe it's placement. But I really do think that one of the best tracks was put into the last slot on the album.
Cold as the Ground That Lie Above Me?
Cold as the Ground That Lie Above Me.
That is another song that they played for us live before anyone else had heard it. I think we were there.
I have heard so many. I've heard when we heard it then, and then since I have heard before it ever got mastered a bunch of shitty room recordings of this song.
They weren't shitty. They were demos.
I wouldn't call it a demo. Someone just put a phone on the other side of the room. But this is the punkiest track on the whole album.
Mm-hmm. That's why I didn't want it at the end.
I don't know. I think it kind of leaves you as a shock, and it's very much, oh God, I wish I could remember what inspired this track.
Oh, he told us.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Like a year and a half ago.
I can't remember.
What did he say a year and a half ago?
I'm so sorry. You know what? Let's ask him in the interview.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Surprise. We're also doing an interview with Jim.
Just be like, we were drunk when you told us, and it was a year ago.
Yeah. Also, Jim, I'm saying now because I'm pretty positive you're going to watch this to the very end. I still want to do a music video for this track for you.
Oh my God, that would be amazing. Oh,
and now I put it out publicly and like 100 people are going to know.
We didn't talk about the track, by the way. For me, it gave me that 90s feel again that I'm so nostalgic for. It had, of course, super dark lyrics. I mean, there's nothing else like Cold as the Ground That Lie Above Me. But the music itself sounded uplifting and hopeful.
It did, despite the fact that, again, the messaging is very dark.
Mm-hmm. And like when the chorus breaks in, I can almost feel like a hand like breaking through the ground and just going, yeah. That's just my mental visuals. But I love Jim's vocals during the chorus of this song. Just it gives me chills because it makes me realize how much work he's put into his vocal range. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he just did some singing lessons or just decided that he needed to branch out like a tree in comparison to his last album.
Well, I like to think that maybe he was just like, oh man, me doing the same thing is a crutch.
but oh my God, like the vocals are stellar. And like we had said before, like on every track they try a little bit different of something else, and so you will hear inspirations from the late 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000 mid 2000s. You'll hear all of that, and that is an impressive feat. Most albums that are coming out in post-punk or goth wave or whatever, they pick one genre and they replicate it. And this is not that. This is a mature album.
Yeah, this is the album of someone who sits at home and just listens to a little bit of everything.
Yes, and is a great songwriter.
Although don't tell Jim he's a great songwriter, because he'll tell you, no, I'm not.
Does he write all the songs himself? I don't really know.
Yeah, but if you tell him he's a great
songwriter,
songwriter, he'll sit and argue with you about why he's not.
And the drums really make a huge difference as well.
Yeah, having a real drummer.
Was there not a real drummer on the last release?
No.
Really?
No.
Oh.
I don't believe so. I think that Jim was recording some of the parts himself and then pre-programming others.
And I'll tell you, there is a lot of post-punk that I dislike because the drums are mixed too high. Or they're reverbed too much and they distract from the guitar and the synth, which to me is the best part. Oh, and the vocals. But this is, it's properly mixed, it's properly produced, everything's well balanced, it's just gorgeous.
Well, the album was finished by this dude who is a Grammy-winning sound engineer.
I did see that in the notes, but they neglected to drop his name.
Yeah, well, that's why if you're interested in who Jim used and who Push Button Press used, you'll have to watch the interview because we are planning on specifically asking him that. Also, I just want to chime in and be just like, Jim, I don't have to do a music video for you. That actually sounds like work.
No, what you should do is volunteer to be in the music video.
Oh, I don't want to be in a music video.
What are you talking about? Who doesn't want to be in a music video?
Me? I don't want to be on video. I don't want people
just
to
ask for a full spread of food. You show up.
Oh, tell them like, okay, post-COVID, get me a craft services table. No.
Yeah. No?
Here, he can feed you and you can be in a music video.
Oh, that's right. I'll direct. I'll sit in a chair. I'll wear sunglasses and I'll eat.
That sounds like a job you're perfect for.
Good point.
Oh yeah, that's excellent. It is a job you're perfect for. I don't know how much of a review this was. It's mostly just us talking.
Either. I'm wondering if I kind of felt that I wouldn't be able to give enough justice to my love for this album. But it is so refreshing, and it's not just because we know these guys, but I'm so proud of the progress that's been made in this band because we've seen their growth. And
it kind of makes it really, yeah, you're right. It makes it special for us because we've seen Push Button Press come a long way. We've known them for a while. I am proud of Jim. I'm really proud of Jim. I know that sounds like such a dumb thing.
And the rest of the band.
I don't know the rest of the band as well, but yes. But what do you like better? Do you like Black Swan or Spectacle One better?
Oh, Black Swan. But Spectacle One gave us that 5 degrees Celsius track.
That's the only reason why I would say I like Spectacle One better is because 5 degrees is still my favorite track.
Oh, it sounded so good. So like just take that and like move it over to Black Swan as like an extra and we're good.
But I really do like Broken Faces and Cold as the Ground That Lie Above Me.
Yeah, and every time I'm like, there's these in-between tracks that aren't as strong as the super strong tracks, and then you just pick one and listen to it, and it's freaking phenomenal. Like I'm starting, like on my third listen, I'm really loving Vril and Dim.
Jim would love to hear that. You should tell him. Okay, so that is our review for Push Button Press's latest release, Black Swan, which came out January 8th on Cold Transmission Records. You can find a link to it below. Tell us what you loved about the album. If you hated it, if you think Push Button Press is the worst in the world, don't worry, I will tell Jim.
Yeah, tell us.
So make it sting. No, I'm kidding. Don't do that. But next week, we will be reviewing the debut release from Dover Lights.
Yeah.
As well as doing an interview with the band Daniel and Andy. So they will be joining us. So just like this week, where we have 2 videos, a review and then an interview with the band, we'll be doing that again next week, where we do a review and then an interview with the band. Okay, I had to do time math here. It will be in the future.
Time math.
Yeah. So, as always, you can find us in more places on Facebook, Instagram, Twitch in particular, where we have something regular going on every Wednesday and Friday, occasional Thursdays. That's twitch.tv/obscureundead. It's a pretty cool crowd, come hang out. But otherwise, we definitely, like to always wrap up our videos thanking our lovely Patreon supporters who continue to make this channel possible, who continue to, make all of our ventures and enterprises possible, from the compilation to the zine to the videos to our Twitch streams to our websites, blog posts, fucking everything. We wouldn't have that without the people behind us. Maus has nothing to add.
I was wondering if I was going to add something or if you're going to just keep saying so.
No, I'm sorry. I just have a thing to say. All right, this is running way too long.
Yeah.
All right, we love you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
This